If you're someone who never posts online, no selfies, no updates, no trace of your personal life, you've probably been called weird, antisocial, maybe even suspicious. But you're not. You're actually doing something most people can't do. Social media is a 24/7 performance stage. Everyone is acting, curating, performing. And you? You quietly walked off the stage. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to show you might completely change how you see yourself and why you've never felt the need to post. While most people treat social media like a full-time job, you chose privacy. And that's not cold. That's clarity. Psychologists describe this as a high privacy orientation. People like you don't just randomly decide to stay private. You're wired that way. You think before you share. You protect your space. You don't feel the need to broadcast your life. So when someone asks, "Why don't you ever post anything?" what they're really asking is, "Why don't you need the attention that I need?" And the truth? You don't owe them an explanation. You're not invisible. You're intentional. But here's where it gets deeper. Back in 1996, psychologist Jennifer Pamphlet introduced something called self-concept clarity. And her finding was simple. People who truly know who they are don't need the world to confirm it. Think about it. Most people use social media like a mirror. They post and then wait for likes, for comments, for validation. You don't, because you're not looking for a reflection. You already know what you look like internally. This doesn't mean you don't care what people think. It just means your identity isn't built on it. And that kind of inner clarity, it's rare. Now, let's take it one step further. Psychologists separate self-esteem into two types: fragile and secure. Fragile self-esteem needs constant attention, likes, comments, reassurance. Secure self-esteem, it stands on its own. Research published in the Journal of Communication found that social media often lowers self-esteem. But here's the twist. That only happens if your self-esteem depends on it. If yours is already secure, social media barely affects you. So you're not avoiding posting because you're insecure. You're avoiding it because you don't need it. You already feel whole. But let's be honest for a second. Not everyone who stays private is doing it from strength. Some people stop posting for a different reason. Pain, insecurity, old wounds. Maybe someone once criticized how you looked, mocked you, judged you, and now every time you see yourself on a screen, you remember. That's not privacy. That's protection. And there's a difference. Privacy is a boundary. Insecurity is a wall. So the real question is, which one are you? If it's coming from insecurity, that's not something to hide from. That's something to heal. But for many of you, your privacy is coming from strength, and that goes deeper than social media. Psychologist Carl Rogers believed this starts early in life. He called it conditions of worth. When love feels conditional, when acceptance depends on how you act, look, or perform, you learn something powerful. Being visible comes with a cost. So you adapt. You become more private, more selective, more careful about what you show. Rogers also describes something called an internal locus of evaluation, which means you judge yourself by your standards, not the world's. While most people scroll asking, "Am I enough?" you already decided the answer, without posting, without proving, without performing. And there's one final piece that explains everything. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger introduced social comparison theory, the idea that we constantly measure ourselves against others. Social media turned that into a non-stop cycle: comparison, doubt, repeat. But you stepped out of the cycle. You stopped playing the game. And studies from Georgetown University show that reducing social media use can significantly improve mental health. So no, You're not missing out, you're opting out, and that's a completely different thing. Let's bring this full circle. You don't post not because you're hiding, not because you're antisocial, not because something is wrong with you. You value privacy over performance. Your identity doesn't depend on attention, and you don't need an audience to feel real. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, you chose to be at peace. And that's rare. If this spoke to you, drop a comment and tell me when you first realized you were different online. And if you want more real, honest content like this, make sure you subscribe and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the quietest people understand themselves the most.